Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Toni and I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids. So we're talking about our morning basket today. I'm just gonna give you a peek into our morning basket. That's it right there. And that is basically, if you're like, what is a morning basket? That's basically your family time basket. If you have subjects that you like to do as a family, no matter how old or young your kids are, if you like to do subjects together, that is typically what you put in your morning basket. It doesn't have to be a basket. Mine happens to be a basket, but you could have a box, or you could just have a drawer, or you could have a cabinet, or you could just have them out on your table or whatever. But somewhere along the line, someone started calling it a morning basket, so that's what we call it. So I'm just gonna give you a peek into what we have in our morning basket and how we use that, how often, all that kind of stuff. So if you're curious about what we use for homeschooling 4 kids that range from 2nd grade up to 9th grade and how we do morning basket together, then stay tuned. Okay, I've got my morning basket right here, and I'm just gonna start pulling out stuff and showing you what we have in here. Some of the stuff that we use in here, I use with all 4 kids. And that's the stuff that I will show you first, because I'm gonna show you the order of how we do it during the day. And then there's some things that I do in here just for 2 kids. And I keep them in the morning basket even though we don't do it all together. Does that make sense? The first thing that we do together is Bible. And this year, my husband is actually teaching Bible to the kids, which is really cool. He is retired now on disability, so he is home with us. So it's really cool because how long have I been doing this? 10 years, 11 years, something like that, of homeschooling. He's always had to work and he hasn't been here when we do this stuff. So he wanted to be more involved this year. So I'm excited about that. So he is teaching our Bible curriculum, which is the Who is God curriculum by Apologia. So we're really enjoying this so far. We're only, I don't know, how long have we been doing school? I don't know, a couple months. And, or we're on the 2nd month or something. It's probably been close to 2 months maybe now. But so far we're really enjoying it. This is definitely something that all the kids can sit together. There are things that obviously my older girls, I have a 2nd grade boy, and then I have a 5th, 7th, and 9th grade girl. So there's stuff that obviously the 9th grader is gonna know more answers. My 7th grader is gonna know more answers as it goes down. Sometimes my 2nd grader, he does struggle to really focus, but he does sit with us in the living room when we do this together, even though a lot of times he's distracted by the dog or by other things, but he does listen and he does answer a lot of the questions. There's times where I'm really surprised where I'm like, oh, he was listening. He did know the answer to that. So I've really enjoyed this because I do think this is a good family style curriculum. It's a biblical worldview of God and truth. So I think it's going to be really good. I'm excited about continuing with this year. So that's the first thing we do. If there's a day that we don't do Bible together, say my husband has an appointment or has to go clean our inn or something like that and he's not here, then we will do a little devotional together. And this is one I had a giveaway on my channel a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago on this, called How Can I Feel Closer to God? And I gave one of these copies away. This is by Chris Morphew. I will link this in the description box. But this is just a nice little devotional, kind of a quick, it's a quick thing that we can just do together, have a little bit of discussion, and it's not like, doesn't take any prep at all. I just open it up and read it. So I do like doing devotionals on days where we're not doing the other Bible curriculum, but in general, we do the other one every day. Oh, you know what? I think I showed you the book from last year. That Bible study book. I think this, I haven't done this. I didn't realize I grabbed the last. I have both of these in here. This is the one we did last year, and this is the one that I had a giveaway for recently. How can I be sure what's right and wrong? So it is the same author, but it's still a devotional. So anyway, that's the one I meant to share with you guys. The next thing that we do together is poetry, and this is something that my girls have always had in their curriculum, like in their language curriculum, or when we did Heart of Dakota, it was like in their curriculum as like a poetry subject or whatever. But we don't have that this year in any of our subjects. So we're doing poetry. I just got this book at the thrift store. It's called The Random House Book of Poetry for Children. A treasury of 572 poems for today's child. So this is the first one that we did. It's neat because they do have some drawings in here called Nature Is. They memorized this entire thing. We would just do like a stanza at a time. Like each day we did a stanza. Then next day we do 2 stanzas. Easily first week they had this memorized, and we still go over it. And it's just good. It's good for their brains to be memorizing poems. So the one that we're doing right now is this one, the months. This one's a little trickier, so we're not quite done with this one yet. But I think we got to maybe to about June so far. So this one is a little longer, so I made a copy of it for each of them so that while we're reading it, they can all have their own copy and read it together with me. But it's neat. I'm hoping, my plan is, and I did not do this for the first one, I like to keep it real here and let you know when I fail at stuff. But my plan was for this first one, as soon as they had this memorized, I was going to have them paint a picture of the poem, what they thought the poem, was representing, and then write out the poem on a little note card and put it on there. And I think that was from Heart of Dakota. That's what they would do. And I love that. They would have some sort of watercolor picture that they'd have to paint, or they could just use regular paint. And then they put the poem on a note card and then glue it onto the picture. And I love that. I thought that was cool. So that's what I'd like to do, but we didn't do it for this one. So I'm hoping to do it for this one. And this has a cool, their artist's portrayal of this, a neat idea. So we may do something like that. But that's my plan, is once we have the poem memorized, to do some sort of art with it. So this is a really cool book. If I can, if they have this on Amazon, I'll link it in the description box below, because I really do like it. It has, the neat thing is, if you've got younger kids, it's got pictures for most. It looks like almost all the poems have some sort of picture. Nothing too elaborate, but just a little something, which I think is kind of neat. Okay, so the next thing that we have in here is our read aloud. We are reading the Phantom Tollbooth. Any of you guys that have followed me for any amount of time, you probably know that I've been really terrible at doing read alouds. I always have such big intentions and I love reading aloud, but I always failed at making time for it. I have made time for it pretty much every single day, unless there's been a day where there was an appointment and the kids just did individual stuff and we didn't do the morning basket. But keeping this in the morning basket has been key, because I don't know why. I don't know if I didn't keep the read aloud book in there. I don't know. I've just always failed at it. But we are halfway through, and I've just read a chapter a day. This book, by the way, I don't know if you guys have ever read this. This is an old book. I think this is from when I was a kid. Let's look at this is from 1961. I'm not that old. It's from 1961. So this is from when my mom was a kid. But this is a funny book. It's actually really cool. And I assigned this for one of my girls to read last year or the year before. Anyway, I had assigned it to her, and then for some reason I don't think she read it or didn't finish it, or I don't know. But it's actually really quippy, it's really funny and crazy. And it's all if you are as a homeschool mom, you're probably an English teacher too. If you appreciate English, you'll love this, because it talks about this kid goes to all these different worlds. He takes this toll booth that takes him to these different worlds, and everything is a play on words. So everything is let's see if I can use an example. So here they've got different people in this world that he's visiting: the Duke of Definition, the Minister of Meaning, the Earl of Essence, the Count of Connotation, the Undersecretary of Understanding. It pushes your kids to learn new words. This is got a lot of words in here. It's in the doldrums, laughter is frowned upon and smiling is permitted only on alternate Tuesdays. Violators shall be dealt with most harshly. But it's playing with all these different words. It's just really funny. They're not supposed to use numbers, and I don't know if I'm giving a good description, but it's this kid that was really bored in his sitting in his room, and life was boring. And then this toll booth shows up, and he takes this toll booth, and he meets a dog named Talk, who has a clock on him, he's a clock. He's a clock belly or something. It says he even embarks on a quest to rescue rhyme and reason. It's just a funny book. I think I appreciate it more than the kids do, because it's a play on words, and some of the words or some of the phrases they may not get, rhyme or reason. They may not necessarily get that, but we use words like that. Anyway, it's a fun book, and I think it would be a little heavy for me to assign this to my 5th grader, because she's not going to really grasp half the stuff or some of the stuff, because it's phrases that maybe she hasn't heard of. But I think it's a really cool read aloud, because you can stop and be okay, have you guys ever heard this phrase? So that's what they mean by this, and stuff like that. I like it. So anyway, we're about halfway through that and it's been really cool. So the next thing that we do, we don't do it every day. Sometimes, honestly, I will tell you, I'm gonna be totally honest. Sometimes I know that with maybe attitudes, people woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or, you know, it was like difficult to get through Bible time because of whatever the reason is. If we come in here, and maybe this isn't right, if we come in here and I'm like, okay, there's no way that we're gonna be able to worship right now. Like, you know, when everybody's got bad attitudes and stuff, if I were to be like, okay, let's take out the hymnal, it's going to be painful. So there are days where I'm like, we're just not going to do this today. But in general, this is what we do. So I have 2 copies because I accidentally bought 2 copies, but I'm actually really glad. I've been wanting to do this for a while. We did this last year, but when I bought it last year, I really wanted to do it. I had seen it and I was like, oh, that looks so good. So I bought it. And then like months later, I found one at the thrift store. I was like, oh, I've been wanting to do that. I should buy that. And then I found out I had 2. Oops. But it actually works out good because 2 of my girls, my son will sit in the room and listen, but he's not really, he can read, but he can't read fast enough to keep up with us with the hymns. So it's difficult for him. So he really needs to just like listen to us and then he learns as he's listening. Does that make sense? It's hard for them to follow along with him sometimes, especially if the songs are too fast. But what we do is 2 of the girls have this book and me and a girl have this book and we sit across from each other and I pull it up, whatever song we're doing. Alas, and Did My Savior Bleed? That's one that we've done. I will pull it up on YouTube and I'll find like a pretty version that I like before we start school, like the week before. And then I play it and then we do it out loud. I don't play piano. If you play piano, it would be cool for you to play it while your kids sing, but I don't do that. So it's been so good. It's one of my favorite times. So the times that they are cranky, if there's like a day during the week that everybody's super cranky and we can't do it, I'm kind of bummed, but I know I'm not going to get much out of them if anybody's cranky. Like a Monday morning. We have Monday school on Monday morning, but I would not probably do this on Monday morning. I don't know. Are your kids cranky on Mondays? Love this though. So if you are looking for just a way to study hymns, it's got the stories of the hymns in here. So here's one. Let's see. What is this? Crown Him with Many Crowns. It's got the story behind the hymn, how the hymn came about, something about the author, something like that. And then it's got the hymn right here. So I love it. It's really cool. We also have Trim Healthy You. This is the health curriculum that we're doing this year. So we did this last year and didn't finish it. So that's what we're doing this year. So that's all the stuff that we do all together. Oh, my verse cards. They're not actually in this box. Probably should put them in the box, but there's not really space. So I have a different box for this. We do the Simply Charlotte Mason verse cards, and I've got them all in here. I have talked about this before. I don't know if I have a dedicated video to it, but I did talk about it in our morning basket video last year, but it's just got all kinds, tons of verses, and it's set up to where you do, you have, let's see if I can show you guys. You have a daily, you have an odd, an even. It's like the odd day of the week, or the odd like date. So if it's the 11th, you do a daily, you do an odd, and then say it's Tuesday, and then you do the Tuesday verse. Then the next day it'd be the 12th, so you do daily verse, then you do the even verse, and then you do the Tuesday verse and stuff like that. Or some of them or if they're like really quick and the girls are really getting it, or my kids are really getting it, then I'll add another verse. And then once you get it, you scoot it back to the next section and just keep adding them. And I love this. I think this is great. And this is just a recipe card box that I got somewhere. So that's what we do for our Bible verse time. Okay, some of the stuff, now the other couple things I have in here are things that I do with just my 2 big girls. So one is the Fallacy Detective. We're doing that this year for logic. And this is really good so far. It's been a little challenging to like really understand these. There's like kind of like a quiz, like a test, like not a test, but like it kind of quizzes them to see if they really understood what we like learned about with whatever the new fallacy is, and then it has questions or whatever, and they have to answer that. So I actually just have them write it on paper because I just bought one book, but it is a workbook that you could have them write it in this book if you wanted. But I had 2 girls doing it, so we're sharing. So we're doing that for the first semester. There's one more thing that I actually do with everybody, and so far I've only done it like a couple days a week. I kind of want to get to where I'm doing it every day, but it really depends on how long everything else took. But I am intertwining this in. It's called America's History. 1776 to 1791. And this is from the Tuttle Twins. And this is so cool. I really like it. So the author sent me this to review, and I will probably give an in-depth review at the end of the year once we've made it through it. But we've made a ways through it. The cool part is one of my daughters has actually read some of the Tuttle Twins books. So she's familiar with the boy and the girl, Emily and Ethan, the kids. So if you've read Tuttle Twins books, that's the cool thing, is that the same kids are in this book. It's teaching America's history the right way, but it also has this like story, like kind of mixed in, which I think some of us that like Charlotte Mason style homeschooling would appreciate this. So it'll have like the kids were talking to their neighbor, and he's drinking kombucha, which I thought was hilarious. And he's sitting here and they're talking about the true history. And then it's got important things. So it's got pictures of other things like symbols and things in history. Like it talked about this symbol and what it meant, and then where we can find it, and on our money and on monuments and things like that. And I think it's just going to be really good. A good refresher, because we're not doing American history this year. We're doing ancient times. And I think this will just be good to make sure that everybody really gets what happened, because sometimes sometimes it's hard to know what from the history books was true and what was maybe tried to make it look nicer than it was. I know we all know that some stories like about Christopher Columbus may not have been exactly the way they were supposed to be. It's hard to know, how do I actually teach this? And I feel like this author, it's actually two guys. Connor Boyack is the one, he actually, I think is the one that signed it for me. He's the one that you see on Instagram. I think that's his signature. And then Elijah Stanfield. Their goal is to get the truth out there and God's truth of what happened in history. So I think it's really cool. It's been really neat so far. They're trying to make sure that the stuff that's trying to be taken out of history isn't taken out, and that you get to hear what actually happened. So I think it's really cool. I think it probably could be a full history curriculum, but we're just using it as a supplement this year. And I think it's been really neat so far. So I will let you guys know at the end of the year, once we've gone through the whole book, what we think. But that's what I have in my morning basket. So that's what we do every morning. So after we do Bible time, the rest of that stuff that I talked about, we do here in our schoolroom together. And I don't know, I just think it's great. It's nice to be able to have my 9th grader still with us. And then after we're done with morning basket time, everybody splits off. And I usually just have 2 of my kids in here, my 2 younger ones. My 2 big girls go to their room and they do the rest of their independent stuff in their room. They focus better without anybody with them, so they work in their room. So it's nice to have that time where we're all together before we split off. Now, one other thing that we do sometimes, it all depends on how much time the morning stuff started. If we didn't get up on time and we didn't start until like 10 o'clock, and then say Bible time took a half an hour, if it's already 10:30, 11 o'clock or something, then we typically do not play games. But if we get started early enough and we've gotten everything done, I have a cabinet right here that I think I showed you guys in my schoolroom reveal video. I'll link that above if you didn't get to see it. But I have a bunch of games. They're like educational games or just fun games that we have always done in our school room. We haven't had as much time this year. I think life's just been hectic, but I do like to put that in. I don't have them in this morning basket, but I do keep them in that cabinet back there. So we grab one of those if we have time. So, but that's I do think the morning basket, the whole idea behind it is great. If you want your family to make sure you have that family time together and not just, okay, start your day, everybody go split off. I don't want it to be like that. So I like that we do some stuff together still. I think it's important. Do you guys do morning baskets? Let me know if there's something, maybe a subject that you have in your morning basket that we don't do. I'm curious. The only other thing that we've had before was maybe like art or something like that, but this is what we've got this year. So it changes every year, really, depending on what we do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more homeschooling content, thrifty stuff, and mom life. And I appreciate you guys being here. I will see you guys next time. Bye.